Washington, 930 and 104.1 FM, Washington. The following is an exclusive presentation of Pirate Radio, the voice of the pirate nation. This is Eastern Carolina's longest-running sports radio show. The Brian Bailey Show is on the air. The Brian Bailey Show is powered by Greenville Utilities and also brought to you by
Angus Grill, Bostic Sugg Furniture, Bojangles, East Coast Grading, Papa John's, Pepsi, The Rick House, Greenville Utilities, BMS Builders, Sears Chop House, The Gavigan Agency, Taft and Hagler, Tiebreakers, and Greenville Auto World.
And now, here's Brian Bailey.
Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Victory Monday for East Carolina. How about that game the other night? 4 overtimes as East Carolina knocks off the Memphis Tigers. 47-45 was the final score in a crazy night over at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. Our guest today has seen some crazy nights. Steve Shankweiler, the East Carolina offensive line coach. He's in his 4th stint of duty with the Pirates. He's coached on the Division I level for some 39 years, and he'll be alongside to talk about the game against Memphis, also preview the matchup against 5-1 UCF. The Knights have only had 1 road game so far this year, so they venture out to East Carolina. I believe UCF is a slight favorite in that game. We'll talk about that, talk about all the stats, all the overtimes, and everything else on this Victory Monday with Steve Shankweiler. It's coming up right after this.
It's bow time. Why are Bojangles Chicken Supremes called Supremes? Well, with golden crispy chicken tenderloins this juicy, tender, and full of bold flavor, what else would you call them? Superbs? Nah, that would be weird. Get your Chicken Supremes combo today with a scratch-made biscuit, your choice of fixin', legendary iced tea, and have you heard there's a new sauce in town? Try our new creamy buffalo sauce when you get a Chicken Supremes combo today. It's bow time.
BMS Builders is your premier custom builder in Eastern North Carolina. With homes in Blackwood, Mills Creek, Dalton's Cove in Farmville, and Belmar and Ayden, they're constantly expanding. Now to Laurel Glen and Sarah's Way, plus the new duplex community at Abigail Trails. BMS Builders can build the home of your dreams. Just ask Dr. Dennis Ross in Greenville or ECU football coach Mike Houston. They built their homes, and they can build yours as well. Call 916-1578 for BMS Builders.
The Rick House is Eastern North Carolina's premier American-style restaurant and bourbon bar with daily specials. And here's the lineup. Mondays feature $7 margaritas and half-price appetizers. Tuesday is stuffed seafood night. Wednesday is date night. Thursday is roasted smoked lamb chop night. Fridays is prime rib night. And Saturday is Italian night and is also Fred and Wilma night with our 36-ounce bone-in tomahawk steak just like the Flintstones. And on Sunday, it's our legendary brunch from 10 to 2. The Rick House, American Provisions and Spirits, 710 Red Banks Road beside the bowling alley in Greenville.
This is John Gavigan with the Gavigan Agency. Our top priority is doing what is best for our members. Whether you are buying a new vehicle, a new home, protecting your family with life insurance, or filing a claim, our agency will be there every step of the way. Our goal is to become a trusted advisor for you and your family for all of your personal and commercial insurance needs. Give us a call in Greenville at 756-1400 for a car, home, business, or life insurance quote today, and give us the opportunity to show you the benefits of doing business with someone who cares.
All anniversaries are special, but because it's Bostic Sugg Furniture's 85th anniversary extravaganza, we packed a lot into our big extravaganza with not 1, not 2, but 3 ways to save. Extra 10% off, plus 1937 local delivery, plus 6 months special financing on all in-stock and custom orders. Change your mattress, change your life, and get 48 months special financing during the big 85th anniversary extravaganza on now at Bostic Sugg Furniture.
Sears Chop House is Greenville's only true chop house. We're open 7 days a week. Sears combines a remarkable menu with an unrivaled atmosphere. Lunch or dinner at Sears is a quality-driven experience where we highlight a thoughtful approach to locally sourced ingredients and hearty, flavor-rich cuisine. We're firing up the grill at Sears, Greenville's only true chop house, located on Fire Tower Road at Bells Fork. Come see us at Sears 7 days a week.
This is CJ Mayhew, and you're listening to Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, providing reliable utility solutions to the Greenville region since 1905. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to our show. Steve Shankweiler, offensive line coach, joins us from his office over on the campus at East Carolina. He was with the Pirates from 87 to 91, from 98 to 02, from 05 to 09, and he's been here for the last couple of years with Mike Houston as the head coach at East Carolina. Coach Shank joins us now. And, Coach, have you recovered from the 4 overtimes yet?
Well, it's called lack of sleep this time of year anyway, but that certainly added to the dilemma that we as coaches face.
Before we dive into the exact overtime against Memphis, let's just talk in generalities about the overtime rules. Are you a fan of how the rules work? And if you're just listening and kind of want to know exactly what it is, the first overtime is pretty much normal. The ball at the 25, you get a couple of first downs, you get inside the 5, you score a touchdown, you can kick your extra point, go for 2, whatever. Second touchdown, if you score it in the second overtime, you have to go for 2. And then from there on, it's just a battle of 2-point conversions. It's kind of like the old like the penalty kicks in soccer or whatever. I mean, it's to me it weakens the game a little bit, waters it down. But I was just wondering, as a coach, do you like those rules?
Well, I tell you, Brian, what happens is you gotta like them because people way up the ladder make these decisions. They don't really ask us. But truthfully, I think for the health of the players. I had 5 linemen the other day play 85 snaps, and if you had been in the old overtime system, then you're talking about over 100 snaps, and that's I think that the point is that I think it's really better for the health of the kids. It does, I know it maybe take a little bit away from the fans and all, but everybody's anxious to get a decision made. Let's get this thing on, and I think the 2-point rule really enables that, able to, keep the reps down for your kids and hopefully limit injuries.
As coaches now, I know you guys put in 2-point plays for certain situations because obviously there are situations where you need to go for 2. But is that part of the process as well, thinking about, hey, if we get in one of these overtime games and we've got to go 3, 4, 5 overtimes, which doesn't happen very often, first time in East Carolina's history, but still, is that in the back of your mind that we got to have some 2-point plays ready to go?
Well, Brian, it's not just in the back of our mind. Every Tuesday, we start practice right after flex with 5 2-point plays full speed against the defense. We've been doing that all year. And we have a bank of plays. We probably have 15 different plays that we have practiced since camp. And we usually pick 5 or 6 to take into each game. And then, you kind of keep those basic ones. You kind of keep them the same and maybe change the formation or add a motion to it or do it out of a different personnel group or something. But no, we've been preparing for this since they changed the rules.
When you think about Memphis and the battles with East Carolina, last year the Pirates go to Memphis. It comes down to a 2-point conversion that Memphis can't get. This time, through 4 overtimes, it comes down to a 2-point conversion that Memphis doesn't get. I mean, these have been 2 battles, haven't they?
Well, if you look historically, really all the way back, at least somebody as old as you and myself can remember lots of games of Memphis that it came down to a crazy ending or a really high-scoring affair. And I remember the year that we had here in Greenville, the year that I guess it was 90, maybe 91, that with the so-called the drive where we ran one play, for like 70 yards to win the game. I mean, it's always been. The D'Angelo Williams versus Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
There's always been something about that game that has made that rivalry really special. And then, of course, the 2 schools have done nothing the last couple of years but enhance that memory.
All right, take us through the overtime periods, because I think that it's fascinating when you look at the game is on the line on just about every play. So the Pirates go to midfield with Memphis had a chance to call the coin flip. They called tails and it was heads. So the Pirates, they want to play defense first, which is what you want to do. You want to find out what you have to do on offense. Memphis comes down and scores the touchdown to go up 37-30. What are you guys thinking on the sideline?
Well, it's like I said, we practice this all the time, and so, we have a red zone, because really that's the red zone now. The ball's on the 25, so you have a red zone game plan that is separate from your open field game plan. And so you just kick that into place, and, we have a lot of confidence in the kids to go out and handle that. Well, I'm one of these guys that once the game's over, I try to forget about it. But there was two things that stood out to me that really can't happen, and both teams overcame it. I think it was the second overtime we gave up a sack, and I think in the first or second overtime they gave up a sack, and usually that's like the death knell. Because now instead of the ball being on the 25, it's on the 30. Okay, now you're thinking, okay, it's second or third down now, and we've got to make up that ground because it's too far for a field goal. And so you think, well, I know when we sacked them, I thought game's over, and daggone, they overcame it. And then, of course, we did the same thing with, completion of a shallow cross route that went for a first down. So, it's both teams had a good plan. Both teams executed pretty well. I'm just glad we executed one play better than they did.
Keaton gets the touchdown in that first overtime, so now we're tied again, 37-37. So now we have to flip the field, which I'm not a fan of because I had to shoot with the camera the last little bit, and I made that 100-yard jaunt 3 times. Randy Phillips up in the press box was calling 911 to make sure the rescue squad was ready, but it was I went right down the middle of the field. I didn't go around. That'd have been 150 yards, and I was going to go a straight line shot. So now the Pirates get a chance to take the lead. Keaton goes off on the right side, 12 yards for the touchdown. Keaton Mitchell, 29 carries, 149 yards, 3 touchdowns, and along with 20. I know Clip Brock and these guys were talking about it in the postgame afterwards, that usually when Keaton gets over 100, 130, 140, 150, whatever he gets, he's got a 60 or a 71 yard run in there. But that didn't happen the other night. His long was 20. I think that was one of his most complete games.
It really was, and going into the game, the average fan doesn't know this stuff, but going into the game, Memphis was giving up like 106 yards a game rushing. That was it, and they've been very difficult to run the ball on, and they've played a couple pretty good. They played Navy, and they stoned Navy. Navy couldn't run the ball on them. I mean, so I think it speaks to the level of player they've got on defense, but it also speaks, the level of play that our kids came through with, and then Keaton was able to, make that kind of yards without one of those long breakers.
So in that second overtime, Memphis gets it down to the 1 yard line. Their fine quarterback Seth Hennigan sneaks it in, so they get the touchdown. They run the football, and the Pirate defense stuffs Asa Martin on the play. So now we're tied 43-43. As an assistant coach on that sideline now, you kind of looking around saying, okay, let's just keep going with this thing. But now you start the tries for 2, and then it's Memphis with their 2-point attempt. They get it to go up 45-43, and then East Carolina goes back to pass with Holton Ahlers. He has plenty of time, and he hits Keaton over in the flat, and Keaton made a great move to get in.
Yeah, great. Really, when you get one-on-one with Keaton in the open field, it's pretty hard to tag him, much less tackle him. And he's got great feet, and he's come off that hip injury. Obviously back to where he wants to be, and we want him to be. But that was really obviously a very big play, and really a very skilled movement on his part.
So it's after 11 o'clock now. We go to overtime number 4. East Carolina with the football first, and this time the Conley connection hooks up. It's Holton Ahlers and C.J. Johnson.
Yeah, that was there's actually it's a play that we use quite a bit, and we change the route depending on where where we are on the field. But it's a combination quarterback draw and or throw, and they played. They played the coverage that you get CJ one-on-one with somebody and had an extra guy in the box. So Holton threw the fade route to CJ, and that kid's hard to defend. If you put the ball where he's got a shot at it, he's a big body guy that can go up, very athletic, and obviously he's shown that many times. And what a perfect combination. 2 kids, from Greenville, helped putting together a great play to have a great win.
So it's 47-45 in that fourth overtime. Memphis with their 2-point conversion and the pass sales. Now, I'll give Memphis credit. They were going to a tight end because they had some success with their tight ends, and they were very good, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. And, I don't pay much attention to that side of the ball. I just know that every time I looked up, one of those kids was making a play.
Yeah.
And they got a heck of a football team. They really do. They lost to Houston the week before in a heartbreaker, but they were up 3 scores on Houston in the fourth quarter. And, they obviously didn't hold on to that, but they're a really capable team. And they've been known for their tight ends, but I think their quarterback he's really a heck of a player.
Yeah, I think he played an outstanding game. And you think about, and you've coached all these years, you know the psyche of a team is really, really important. They play Houston, and I think I gave up on the game. I thought it was a blowout, went to bed the night I was watching it. But Houston comes back from 19 down in the fourth quarter to win that game. And Memphis goes up 17-0 on the road in Greenville at a rowdy Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium, and the Pirates come back and win that game in 4. So the Memphis psyche's got to be really shaky right now. But as you said, they are a very good football team.
Yeah, they're very talented. And, I've obviously done this long enough. I've been on the other side of that scenario, and it's not much fun. And, they got good coaches, and I'm sure that they got good kids, good players, and I'm sure they'll get their attention this week and regroup and, probably end up having a heck of a year.
What were you guys thinking on the sideline when you go down 17-0? Because it's 10-0, Pirates fake a punt, and in talking to Coach Houston afterwards, and I still haven't seen the video of it, but he said that you guys on the fake punt got the look you were looking for, even though it was 4th and 24, and a couple of people told me this, that if one block had been made or one guy from Memphis read the play pretty well, but if that's not happening, then all of a sudden you got the first down, got the momentum, maybe you go down and cut it 10-7, but you don't, and now you're down 17-0. As a staff, what are you guys on the sideline thinking?
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but I think we only punted twice. I may be wrong, but I think that's right. And we did not turn the ball over. Okay, so we felt really good about what we were doing offensively, but we also knew, and again, maybe a lot of people don't get it, but we knew what kind of defense we were playing against, and we felt like we were executing, pretty decently. And it was just going to take some time. You can't just line up and run the ball the first series of the game and cram it down the defense's throat. That's really good. You got to work at it. It takes time, and we had our kids, use the term flinch. Our kids, offensively never flinched. They totally bought into don't look at the scoreboard because we were really playing pretty well, and we just have to go make something happen. And then we obviously got great field position at one time and scored, and that's all it took. That's all it took. Because again, as you talk about psyche, all of a sudden the psyche flips. But I don't think our guys were ever. I'm trying to recollect faces, and there was never a doubt in anybody's mind that we would come back and be in that game pretty quickly.
Steve Shankweiler, offensive line coach at East Carolina, joining us. One of the true pleasures of going to football practice is watching Coach Shankweiler work with his kids and his guys. And I've told you this and joked with you before about this, but it really is just because I think even more so than any other position group, the offensive linemen are all built basically the same, and they all, they hang out together, it seems like, but they're a close-knit group. And I think that you're the type of coach that they really want to impress and to do well for, and you get on them, but you get on them with more like tough love than you do anything else. And it's really fascinating to watch those guys, and it's fascinating too. I don't think anybody understands pad level and different things like that you guys have to work on day after day after day to get these guys to be able to perform like they do.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I feel bad for your social life but they, and again, I'm not critiquing anybody that watches, but, sometimes people have, opinions and so forth that I think are really out of whack.
Yeah.
But, you're asking, you're taking a kid, usually that was probably not the first guy picked on the playground to, play basketball. Okay. And you're taking a kid that, can't run like a linebacker or even a defensive lineman. And you're asking them do something that's totally unnatural in athletics. They never see the object of the game. It's all happening behind them. They have to trust their skills and the plan, because defense, they get to see the ball. In soccer, everybody sees the ball. Basketball, everybody sees it. Everybody gets to kick it. Everybody gets to shoot it. Offensive linemen don't really touch the object of the game. They never even see it. And yet you're asking a guy that may not be as talented to move a 300-pound man against his will. And so the fundamentals of the game for that position are critical. That's why it takes so long for a kid to learn to play, because, you're asking him to do something that really is unnatural. And to do it, you have to play with your feet outside your knees. Well, that's unnatural. Nobody walks with their feet outside their knees. And you're asking a guy to pass block against a guy that's running forward at, a 4.6 pace in some cases, and you're going backwards. It's so many people don't appreciate what goes on there and the type of commitment those kids have to make to learn that. And so that's why you see that group usually being very tight-knit, because they go through training that other positions don't have to do. And so right now, since I've been back here, okay, last year's group was fairly tight. This year's group is really tight socially, and the camaraderie among them is really, really strong. And so, but I think it has to be that way, because no other position in sport has to do what they do. And so it takes an unusual kid. It takes a kid that is obviously going to put the team first, and to be part of it, he understands his role, and it's an ugly role. I mean, like I said the other night, I only played 5 guys, not counting field goal and all. So they play 85 snaps. I mean, nobody plays 85 snaps except the quarterback. I mean, nobody does. And so, but that, you got to go move. They had a kid that was 6'6", 360. Well, let's go move him for 85 snaps. Okay, so fundamentally, you better know what you're doing, and you better be a good student. And, I've been blessed. I've had a couple really good players, but sometimes those guys you have to create. And that's what makes it so much fun to coach them, because they play above and beyond what people expect. And, so it's a neat experience for me, and one that obviously has meant a lot to me during my career.
It's interesting you say that those guys really don't get a chance. Nobody touches the football in that group except the center, and those guys are, the game's right in front of them. It's actually behind them. What they're doing is in front of them. But I remember back in my high school days, on Thursdays before our big game on Friday night, they would bring a football out, and they would have coaches throw to us like we were in a wide receiver line, and we all thought that was the coolest thing. We would run a route and catch the football. We thought, hey, this is where it's at. This is what we want to do, but none of us were obviously talented enough to actually catch a football in a game. But those guys deserve a chance to play with the football too, don't they?
Well, you'd like to think so, but the game has changed. Nobody has time for those little games anymore. it's all too. Which is a lot more important maybe than it was way back then. But it's. I wouldn't coach any other position. It's to me, it's fascinating.
We're taking your questions and comments on our Facebook live feed, and we've got a bunch of them coming in, so we appreciate you guys watching us on Facebook. Jay wants to know if you would talk generally about the whole process of calling in a play to the quarterback, to evaluating the defense and calling the blocking scheme, the routes, and that kind of thing. What goes on when the play is called from the sideline? What does your center have to call, and what are some of the things that go on right there?
Well, it's a process now. We are a no huddle team primarily. Obviously, anybody that's watched us knows that. So we signal the whole play. Okay, the motion, the shift, the alignments, the formation, and the play. And the receivers, they get all that information, and the quarterback and running back gets all that information by signal. The line of scrimmage does not rely on signals. The quarterback will repeat the play to them in a code word fashion, okay, so that the defense can't, you don't say, you don't tell the line, belly right, or, we use code words for that.
Right.
So that the defense could never pick up on it. And then, basically what happens from there is they have to identify the personnel, okay? Are there 3 down linemen in the game? Are there 4 down linemen in the game? okay, because in the way you count, okay, if there are 4 down linemen in the game, then you're going to assume there are 3 linebackers, okay, one usually outside the box and the other 2 in the box, depending on the formation. If there's 3 down linemen in the game, then obviously now there's 1 more linebacker in the game. So you have to identify, because really what you have to do is you have to set the blocking scheme based upon the linebacker that the line is accounting for. So, for example, if you've got 4 down linemen in the game, okay, you've got 5 offensive linemen, then they're responsible for 4 and 1 more and 1 linebacker, okay? Sometimes in some protections we make them responsible for 2 linebackers. We call that double read. If there are 3 down linemen in the game, now, obviously 3 plus 2 equals 5, so now the line is responsible for 2 linebackers. And so what happens is when you see the quarterback and the center pointing, they are pointing to where you start your count, to what linebacker you start your count. So if the guard says 4 down linemen, then the center and the quarterback have to be in tune with which linebacker are we counting from. And that goes back to old school, like when you and I played. You used to count 0, 1, 2, 3. All right, and what was your rule? Well, you block 1. Okay, well, go block 1. You block 2. Who is 2? Well, it's either that guy or this guy. Well, we've simplified that, but and we've also made it very complicated for the layman to understand. But when they point, they have decided how many big guys are on the field, and then with that number of big guys, how many linebackers are the O-line accountable for, and then which 2 or 1 of those linebackers they start from. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense to you, but without drawing it up, that's probably the best way I can explain it.
No, I think it makes sense. I can just remember as a player always blocking down. It was always like, we weren't even as complicated as numbers because none of us could count probably. But we just went with, guys in the gap, you're blocking down. But it's gotten complicated, that's for sure. What do you say? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and what's complicated, it really is the passing game.
Yeah.
Because, you have to account for, different blitzes. All of a sudden you've got, one thing is a linebacker coming. Well, okay, if that's where my count started, then I've got him. Okay, but what if 2 of them come? What if a free safety comes? Okay, what if the corner blitzes from the boundary? How do we account for that? So it all comes down to matching I'll make it real simple. The lineman that's not covered. If there are 4 down linemen, 1 lineman's not covered. Okay, 3 down linemen, there are 2 linemen that are not covered. And how do you get those uncovered guys on the correct backer or blitzer? That's up to the quarterback in the center.
The old saying goes that offensive linemen come in as 5 pennies and you're trying to make them a nickel. When do you know that you've got a group that's a nickel?
It's probably as much an experiential thing as anything. When they've played, you can practice and you can draw stuff and look at video all you want, but until the kids had to go out there and do it under the heat of, this guy's he's an angry 300-pound person. Okay, you've got to still be able to think. You still got to be able to count right. You still got to be able to adjust. That when you've got guys that have done that together enough, then you'll sense it. And that's kind of where we are right now. We've got 5 guys that have played a lot of football, and most of them have played a lot of football together. And so, but it takes time. It really does. It's not something that just happens overnight.
I was going to say that when the offensive line and the running game and whenever all that's in sync, it's really fun to watch, especially when you got a guy like Keaton Mitchell back there. Those guys really have to take a lot of pride when Keaton has a big night.
Well, and they do, and it all has to fit, because there are a lot of times where, let's say it's blocked really well, and the back his path isn't right. Okay, so he doesn't hit the hole, or it's not blocked very well, but he adjusts and makes them look really good. Okay, it works both ways. It's a run, it's an RPO, and we throw it. Well, the hole was there to run it, but the hole was also there to throw it. So there are a lot of things that everybody has to be in sync with, and they have to understand how it all works together. But there's no question that a really good running back, he's an eraser. I mean, he can erase a mistake. He can erase a bad block. And that's what a guy like, a Keaton Mitchell or, Rajee Harris, or go back in time, Chris Johnson, people like that, you might be short on your target, okay, or you may not dominate the block, but, he makes somebody miss, and all of a sudden, you look like you're really blocking well. Well, it goes both ways. And when you're in sync with both positions, that's kind of like what happened the other night. I mean, after the first quarter, we were in pretty good sync, and kicked their butt and wore them out in the third and fourth quarter.
And that's really the Mike Houston way, isn't it? I know Dale Steele, when he was watching the Campbell game, he was in town for that, and he texted me during the game, and he said, man, I've seen this before. They're just going to beat them up in the third and fourth quarter, and they're going to dominate. That's Big John and all the work that the guys do off the, in the off season, and just the strength and just how great a shape the guy's in. And pretty much that's kind of what we saw. They dominated after that.
Yeah, and that's how we like to play. I mean, we like to play that way. And, obviously big plays help. Big plays, football's turned into a big play game, and big plays are obviously a big part of it. But the attrition of the wear and tear, if you've got guys that are playing 85 plays and their confidence is building and building and building, by late in the third quarter, fourth quarter, you're pretty much owning a line of scrimmage. And that's the way coach likes to play, and that's the way, an offensive line likes to play.
When you get those kids after an 85 scrimmage game, when they play 85 plays, do you do anything differently on Sunday? And then as you guys get back to practice on Tuesday, do you try to get their legs back? How do you deal with all that?
Well, actually, it's funny you asked that question. I gave them in practice last night. I didn't have them do any of the individual drills. The guys that played, I just worked with the guys that didn't play and the scout team guys and worked on their fundamentals. So that's the first time I've done that this year. But no. When we go back on the field tomorrow, it's like first day of spring ball. Let's go. It's like, I don't know how much golf you play. You probably aren't very good if you do.
Not very good, but I don't play as much as I used to, but I still like to hit it every once in a while.
When you go to the practice range, okay, and if you don't swing the club the same way you would swing it on the course,
right?
Well, then all you're doing is reinforcing bad habits. Yeah. A batter doesn't go in the batting cage and swing soft. You try to make great contact with the ball. And so that's the way, football in all positions, in my opinion, but especially offensive line. What's your job? Well, your job is to take a big kid who doesn't like you, and you got to move him, and he don't want to be moved. Well, how do you get good at that? Well, you got to go practice it. And so, on Tuesdays, tomorrow we take a 5-minute period and we go full tilt against the defensive line. I mean, it's a collision period now. I mean, it's ugly. And but if you don't do that, then don't expect yourself to go on the course on Saturday and swing a good 5-iron. It ain't gonna work. So we practice physical, okay? We're smart. There are guys that I've got one or two that I've got to hold out of a few things just because of some hidden injuries they've got, and let's don't lose it in practice. Let's don't aggravate it. But whenever it's available now, they're going to have to go full tilt.
Steve Shankweiler, offensive line coach at East Carolina, our guest on this edition of the Brian Bailey Show. We'll take a commercial break right now. We'll come back, and then we'll wrap things up with Coach Shank. We'll get him out of here, but he's got a busy Monday to get set for the Knights of UCF. We'll preview that matchup with Coach Shank as our show continues right after this.
Hi, Hi, this is Jeff Charles, and this is a Pirate Radio Sports Break presented by Rogers Motorsports, Highway 11, north of the airport in Greenville. Last night in the ALDS, the Yankees get by the Guardians 4-2, setting up deciding Game 5 for the series in New York at 7 o'clock. Chalk up another loss for the Panthers. Rams 24, Panthers 10. Carolina drops to 1-5. Its first loss for interim head coach Steve Wilkes, who took over this past week for the fired Matt Rule. Cowboys lost to the Eagles last night. The final 26-17. Philly is now 6-0. The Commanders had yesterday off after losing to the Bears Thursday night 12-7. ECU is back home on Saturday night at 7:30 as UCF invades Greenville. The Pirates are coming off a dramatic 47-45 win over Memphis in 4 overtimes. East Carolina now runs its record to 4-3 overall, and the Pirates are 2-2 in the AAC. This has been a Pirate Radio Sports Break.
Hey Pirate fans, did you know there are thousands of special needs children and adults right here in our community that loves ECU athletics as much as you do? Robbie's Clubhouse is a local nonprofit organization that can turn your unused ECU tickets into a fun day for a family with special needs. If you can't make it to the next Pirate game, simply call 1-800-DIAL-ECU and donate and designate your tickets for Robbie's Clubhouse. Go Pirates!
Do you have any real estate questions about buying or selling residential or commercial properties? Are you curious about this current real estate market? Do you need a property manager for all your rental houses? This is proud ECU alum Scott Harris with RE/MAX Preferred Realty and SD Harris Properties, and I would love to help answer every question you have and show you a real estate experience that will be memorable and enjoyable. Every step of the way, I'm here to make your dreams a stress-free reality. Call me today at 347-1857. That's 347-1857. Go Pirates.
You've had your new computer a few years now, but lately it's been running super slow, acting strange, and you're worried about viruses and losing data.
This is driving me mad!
Let the experts at University PC Care in Greenville and New Bern professionally diagnose your Mac or PC to see what's really going on. They'll determine the root cause and not just symptoms, so you don't waste money fixing the wrong issues. Call 252-558-1280 for in-store or remote service, or make an appointment online at universitypccare.com.
Hello, Pirate Nation. This is Jamie Cuccinella, inviting you and your family to come by Cuccinella's Pizzeria and Italian Ice. Cuccinella's has been serving our special family recipe New York-style pizza since 1932. We think you'll taste the difference in just one bite. When you come in for a pie, don't forget to try our house-made Italian ice or gelato. We make small batches every day from scratch with all fresh ingredients.
Cuccinella's on Old Tar Road in Winterville and a new location coming soon to Uptown Greenville.
This is Coach Steve Shankweiler, offensive line coach for East Carolina University football, and you're listening to Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities. Community owned, community powered. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back to our show. Steve Shankweiler, offensive line coach, joining us to preview the UCF game now. UCF at 5-1. It's East Carolina and the Knights coming up on Saturday night. Another Saturday night game, 7:30 kickoff. The Knights come in at 5-1 on the year. This is a Knight team that has yet to leave the state of Florida. They've had one road game. That was in Boca Raton at Florida Atlantic, the place that the Pirates played against USF a couple of weeks ago. But this UCF team really has stayed in the state of Florida. They've played all their games at home so far, so I got to think this is going to be a different venture for them as well. What do you see in this UCF team, Coach?
Well, you know, they could play in Florida. They could play in Northern California, okay? They are really, really fast, and they have not has not changed. They've got great team speed, always have, at least, you know, since they moved out of Conference USA. Their whole dynamic has changed there, and so it's no different. They got a couple transfers that are really good. Obviously, their quarterback people know about. He's one of the fastest kids you'll see around, and he's playing quarterback. And you know, so they're dynamic defensively. They're the same kind of mold they've always been. They're very aggressive, very good people up front, and obviously, again, speed in secondary. It's been very difficult for people to score on.
UCF rolled past Temple 70-13. That was a Thursday night game last week. The week before, UCF took on SMU, and that game was a Wednesday night game. This one will be on a Saturday night. When you think about the game from last year, East Carolina and UCF, I think the Pirates left Orlando thinking they should have won that game.
Well, we've been talking about it last night and today, both. You go through and you look at the game film of the people they're playing now, and what we do is we filter in our game against them last year into all the cut-ups that we look at. And every time the scoreboard comes up, you just get sick because, I mean, that was our chance. That was a great chance to beat them. We had them on the ropes. We had the lead in the fourth quarter. Didn't make the plays on offense in the red zone. Made two critical mistakes. Well, actually three critical mistakes down there that it kept us, you're not going to beat them kicking field goals. You have to score touchdowns because their offense can score in a blink of an eye. So we had a chance, and we didn't take advantage of it. So that's got to be something we correct this year, and we're working on it right now.
And it's something that some of the guys, quarterback Holton Ayler, some of the guys that were around last year, some of the guys that are in your room that were there last year, is that something that maybe puts a little crawl into their focus as far as, hey, we should have got him last year, now we got to get him this year?
Yeah, we really haven't. We practiced on Sunday, and we really haven't seen him since then. But I promise you, my positioning today, the point will be well made. It's evident when you look at the film. There was two good football teams on the field that night, and I think our kids will be anxious. I think the win the other night, as you mentioned, psyche early on. I think that really helped our psyche, and I think they're going to be really excited to play this game because it's it's obviously against a very good team and a team that's got a chance to win the conference. And we got to keep our hopes alive, and it'll be a knockdown drag out.
Let's talk about some of the guys that are in your room. Let's start at the center position with Avery Jones, and he's really kind of solidified that spot.
Well, Avery is, he's kind of a self-made guy a little bit. When he came here, he had never really been a center. And then we had an injury to Fernando Fry a year or two ago during spring practice. So we moved Avery to center just to kind of get through the spring, and lo and behold, he became pretty good at it. And so we've left him there, and he's obviously, become really a kind of a shoot. I mean, he's an anchor. I mean, he doesn't ever come out of a game.
Yeah.
I mean, he came out like 6 plays against Campbell. That was it. Other than that, he's played every play. And so that tells you a lot about just his toughness and his mentality. But his ability, his quickness. We run a lot of outside zone plays, especially with a guy like Keaton. And Avery is quick enough off the snap to reach a nose that's on the guard. I mean, he can flat run. And so that's helped us do some things that our first year or two here we couldn't do. And so he's very talented in that respect. He's fought through injuries and showed up every Saturday. He's a tough kid, and he's one of my guys. He's a special kid.
Yeah, we had a chance to talk to him a couple of weeks ago. Just a very nice kid, an Eastern North Carolina kid who was a star, down at Havelock, and just did a great job. And it's nice to see guys like that, playing for East Carolina. The families get a chance to come to the games, and it's just a really neat deal. Talk about your guards a little bit. Go left and right for us, and what your starters, and then maybe some of the backups too.
Yeah, right next to Avery on the left is Nishad Strother, who's also from Havelock.
Yeah.
And, Nishad's actually got 2 more years because of the COVID deal, but he's a really solid guy. He's played a ton of football here. He started at every single position on the offensive line except center during his career. And so he brings a lot of intelligence and versatility to it. He's very athletic, can do some things that some other kids can't do just because he moves his feet so well. And, just again, an Eastern North Carolina kid you're just glad to see be successful. The other guard is Isaiah Foote. This is his first year starting. He's played very little up to this point, but he started every game this year, played a lot, and is kind of a big, thick, tough kid. He doesn't have maybe the foot speed that Nishad has, but he's a very physical kid, and he's playing with a shoulder that pops out all the time. He's gonna have to have surgery when the season's over. He's a hard-nosed kid now. It's hard to keep him off the field. He fights through that, and just a tough dude. And then they're backed up by Ben Johnson, who's a kid that came in FCS school from Marist College, who came in and has worked at center and both guards, and he kind of backs up really all three positions, and he's kind of in the same light of Isaiah. He's a big, strong, tough guy, and just brings a lot to the room, and a bright kid, and just a fun guy to have around. Then the two tackles on the right side is Noah Henderson, and Noah's been here a while. This very talented kid. Took him a while to get going, and now that he has the last 2 years, this year and last year, he's developed into one of the better tackles in the league. And then on the left side is Justin Redd, who transferred here from Norfolk State back in May. He was an All-American FCS kid there. Came in here. We were going to put him at guard, but we had a couple, injury situations, so we moved him to tackle, and he's just really adapted to that really well. Big guy, well over 300 pounds, very athletic, has got really good flexibility, change of direction, and gets better each week. He's never played tackle before. He was a guard up at Norfolk State, but he has really adapted to it well. He's playing solid football for us.
And you got to like the fact that when you look at your depth chart, you got sophomore, junior, freshman. You got a couple of seniors in there, but for the most part, you got guys that'll be with you for at least a year. Maybe some of these guys 2 and 3.
Yeah, no, and that's what we talked about earlier. It takes time, and if you have a revolving door, and unfortunately in a couple spots we've had that, either by defection or injury or whatever, and it's been hard to get the continuity you want, but we've got. We don't play those second team guys very much, obviously, because they're not quite ready, but they're talented, and they've all played a little bit, and they're going to be here for the next 2-3 years. So that's the way you want the system to be able to next guy up, and a guy like Isaiah Foote, Fernando Fry and Sean Bailey graduated. He didn't get to play much. Boom, he stepped in. His first game was against NC State and played every snap except 2, I think, and did well and hadn't looked back since. But he was in the program. He'd practiced the way we practiced, and he grew through, being on the scout team and stuff like that. And now he's paying off because the toughness that we try to develop here is evident in the way he plays.
Steve Shankweiler, our guest today, his 4th stint at East Carolina, 8 bowl games he's led the Pirates to as far as being an assistant coach. Do you have a favorite bowl game from your years at East Carolina?
Whatever's most recent is my favorite.
Well, that's the military bowl, and that didn't count.
Right. No, it counted. Trust me. It counted.
Good. It should have counted.
Darn right. But no, it's been a great experience for me here, and looking forward to continue it for a long time.
You were at James Madison with Coach Houston, and you guys read the papers and hear the reports, and the reports indicated that Coach Houston was maybe in line for the East Carolina job. Well, what were you thinking as an assistant? Like, were you like, I hope he gets it, I hope he brings me?
Well, our business is kind of, you can't help but hear things.
Yeah.
I try to ignore that stuff because really, truthfully, and this isn't just radio talk. You're so busy as a coach trying to coach your kids and win a game and get a first down.
That's right.
Score a touchdown. If you spend time thinking about that and daydreaming about that, you're going to get your butt beat, and then you're not going to go anywhere. So, it's and you owe it to the players. Wherever you are, you owe it to the players to have them ready to play. So, no, I didn't. Truthfully, that stuff happens every year, every place I've been. So you just got to keep on going.
Can you compare Coach Houston to any other coach that you've kind of worked with? The similarities or anything like that is when you look at the guys you've worked with, whether they're an East Carolina coach or somewhere else?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
How'd you know? I didn't send you a list.
I've answered that before. I think all head coaches have some common qualities, and then each of them has something special about themselves.
Right.
He's got the hard nosedness of a guy like Bill Lewis.
Right.
Okay, or Steve Logan. I use the term he gets it. He knows what it takes to win here, and he understands it. And the guys that have been successful here were guys that understood it, what kind of kids you had to recruit, what kind of weight program you had to have, what kind of toughness you had to develop. And the guys that didn't understand that, guess what? They're not here. And so, he carries that on. His ability to talk with the team and lead the team was very much like a guy like Skip. And Skip had a gift for that. And Mike does too. The kids respond to him. And so he's got qualities, that good head coaches have. He has a vision. He's mentally tough, and that spills over into the program. And so, that's kids have to look at the head coach and see that stuff. And they certainly do with him. And it's been a great experience for me to work for him because, the way he does things is exactly what I believe in. And so it's been great.
Very well said. Update us on Court Shankweiler, your fine son, who's the former J.H. Rose quarterback. He's now at Long Island as offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah. He's probably second guessing this business right now. They went from Division II to FCS, and that's like 30 scholarships different. So they're struggling right now, and they'll get it done. They got Ron Cooper's the head coach there, and hired him as his first hire and made him a coordinator, and they're moving the ball and doing some good things. But they're just right now they don't have the personnel that some of the teams they're playing have. They started off playing 2 or 3 MAC schools, and that's not easy, and for especially a new FCS school. But he loves it. He loves New York. He loves coaching, and he's had a great opportunity to work for some really good people along the way, and that's starting to pay off for him. So I'm excited for him, and I hate anybody to lose except when I'm playing against them. But they'll get that thing going, and it'll be a lot of fun for them here next year or so.
Wrapping things up with Steve Shankweiler. Coach Shank, thanks so much for joining us today. We certainly appreciate your time. We know it's precious this time of the year, and we certainly appreciate you being on, sharing all of your wealth of knowledge on the offensive line. And best of luck this week as the Pirates take on the Knights of UCF. Let's get another win in that column coming up this Saturday night.
All right, Brian. Appreciate you, and let's go Pirates.
All right, thank you. Steve Shankweiler, offensive line coach at East Carolina, our guest today. We'll take a commercial break. We'll come back and continue on after this.
Utilities electric customers will soon be able to receive text notifications in the event of power outages. Enrollment is automatic, so make sure GUC has your cell phone number by signing into your account at GUC.com, then update the information in your user profile. Want to talk with someone instead? Call 252-752-7166 during business hours. 252-752-7166. Update us so we can update you. Visit GUC.com for more information.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville, do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers. I'm Michael Vaughn with East Coast Grading and Utilities. Many of you know my dad, David Vaughn, and his work in putting in subdivisions all over Pirate Nation. But East Coast Grading and Utilities is not just for those type of big jobs. We're here for the homeowners. Whether it's concrete, driveways, hauling rock, or sand, whatever you need, East Coast Grading and Utilities can get the job done. Call us at 252-531-7494 or check us out on Facebook at East Coast Grading and Utilities.
The Angus Grill is your premier spot for the best burgers, cheesesteaks, and brisket sandwiches around. Join us for our unmatched variety of burger combinations, from the mushroom bacon Swiss burger to the jalapeno popper burger to the original Angus classic. Pair that burger with our amazing onion rings, tots, fries, or sweet potato fries. Angus Grill, with 4 amazing locations in eastern North Carolina, including Winterville near Pitt Community College, on Jarvis Street in uptown Greenville, and on Statensburg Road near the hospital. It's the best burger around, guaranteed.
With over 30 locations across North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, Quality Equipment is your local John Deere dealer, where you'll find everything you need for your next project. Our complete lineup of John Deere lawn and garden, agricultural, and commercial worksite equipment comes with years of experience, expertise, and dedication. We know what it takes to get it done right. Stop by today or visit us online at qualityequip.com.
Better ingredients, better pizza, better brace yourself, because this right here is a Papa John's Papa Bowl. No crust, just piping hot toppings and melty cheese in an oven-baked bowl. Better ingredients, better pizza, now in a bowl. Papa John's.
Hey, Pirate fans, brace yourself for the brand new Papa Bowls for only $7.99. The new Papa Bowls are an MVP move for game day or any day. Place your order online at papajohns.com and sign up for Papa Rewards. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. Go Pirates! Before you hit the road this travel season, be sure to get your tires inspected by the tire guys at Greenville Auto World. The Greenville Auto World service team sells all the top brands and economy tires if you need a new set. Need an oil change, state inspection, or AC repair? Greenville Auto World can work on any type of vehicle, and the monthly oil change special is only $29.99. Make an appointment now by calling 364-8730. For award-winning service, trust Greenville Auto World.
Hi, this is Parker Bunch. When I'm not hitting dingers or going viral, I'm listening to Pirate Radio, the voice of the Pirate Nation.
You're listening to The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities. Community-owned utilities mean local control, low rates, and high reliability. Now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back as we wrap things up on this edition of The Brian Bailey Show. Top 25 is out in college basketball. North Carolina is at number 1. The Tar Heels, followed by Gonzaga, Houston, Kentucky, and Baylor in the top 5. Kansas is 6th. Duke's Blue Devils are at number 7. Then UCLA, Creighton, and Arkansas. The top 25, that's the top 10 of that preseason top 25 in college basketball. Kind of gazing through to see some of the other teams that are ranked. Virginia from the ACC is at number 18. And as I look down, I don't see an American team listed in the rankings. I'm getting Clip to double check that, but I don't see any American Athletic Conference teams in that top 25 that just released this afternoon. Is that how you saw it, Clip? Nobody in the top 25 from the American?
I briefly looked at it and did not see it.
Yeah.
Well, no. Did you mentioned Houston, I guess.
No, I went right. Well, I went past Houston in the top 3. I always forget Houston's up there.
They got to be somewhere.
Houston's got to be. That's what I was thinking, but I breezed through the top 5 and I kept looking down towards 7, 8, 9, 10 on down from there. But Houston from the American at number 3, obviously. The Cougars.
Memphis ain't in. That's probably it.
That's what I was looking for down there, and I didn't see them anywhere. But Houston obviously is in at number 3.
How about that preseason ranking?
Yeah, that's not bad. The highest they've been ranked was that when they came to Minji's when they were at 5. Did they go any higher than that?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So when the Pirates knocked them off in the COVID year, with only 3 of us in attendance.
If ECU beats you, you're not getting much higher, unfortunately.
No, you're not going to move up in the polls. But Media Day for Pirate basketball is set for this week on Wednesday, Coach Schwartz and company. So that'll be a lot of fun. Basketball season just around the corner.
Had a great chat with him last week on Pirate Radio Live on Wednesday. And if you missed it, check it out. I really I'm living reality. So both of these things are true. I really like Mike Schwartz, and I think and hope he'll do a good job, but I do think they'll take a few lumps this year. I think it's going to be a rough season.
I think it almost has to be, just because you've taken over a program that has had such little success, and the successes you've had, you lose some of those kids through the transfer portal. So there's some issues there. But, I like Coach Schwartz a lot. I've worked with him a couple of times so far already. Going to do the coaches show later on when basketball season cranks up. But that'll be fun coming up on Wednesday. And then the next week, I think it's on Wednesday night as well, is the Mid-G's Madness. So that'll be something different, something new. And then I think in reading some of that, I think they're going to have like contests for people in the stands and stuff like that. So they're giving away some money on a mid-court shot. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So,
they put it head-to-head with Sports Trivia at H.A. McMurphy.
Well, I don't know what they were thinking.
I don't either. But I'm gonna push it back a little bit because I want to go to that.
Good.
And be able to check that out.
Pirates and the Knights of UCF coming up this week, another 7:30 kickoff. Here's hoping that we don't have a 4 overtime game, but that was interesting. How did you guys react to that?
Well, you can watch it on YouTube.
Well,
and
that's
Facebook.
right. I need to go back and see that.
We were reacting to it with everybody else, and I don't know. Maybe it's the pessimist in me, but when we got to those OTs, I was thinking, oh, man, we're not going to win this game. And how about back-to-back years, Bailey, East Carolina keeping Memphis out of the end zone and a 2-point conversion to beat the Tigers, just like they did in the Liberty Bowl last year.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I want to clear something up. Kenny wrote in our Facebook Live feed that he saw me doing the fast walk. That was not a fast walk, Kenny. That was a sprint. That was an old man with a camera with gray hair sprinting down the field.
So I guess if we go back and look at the tape, we can get your 40 time because you were running on the field,
depends
right?
on which 40 you time, because the first 40 was a lot faster than the last 40.
We use a sundial. We'll get the time for you.
You got to take a calendar and get that baby time. But it was a lot of fun. 4 overtimes at Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium. UCF comes to town. Knights are 5-1. Pirates are 4-3. And game days are always so special, especially working with Pirate Radio and doing everything that we do as far as the pregame and you guys with the postgame. So it's
what time you want me to call you this time?
2 hours before kickoff. 2 hours.
All right.
That's what we'll do.
All right.
It's written in stone. 2 hours.
A little late with you.
You were a little late last week, but that's okay. Yeah, I was just sitting around kind of watching everybody warm up, and then whenever you came to me, nobody was out there, so we didn't have anybody to talk about. All right, I want to thank Steve Shankweiler, the offensive line coach at East Carolina. What a great job he did with the interviews, some great wisdom on the offensive line at East Carolina. I want to thank him for his time and a busy time of the year for those assistant coaches. We'll see you back here next week on The Brian Bailey Show.
This has been The Brian Bailey Show, powered by Greenville Utilities, and also brought to you by
Angus Grill, Bostic Sugg Furniture, Bojangles, East Coast Grading, Papa John's, Pepsi, The Rick House, Greenville Utilities, BMS Builders, Sears Chop House, The Gavigan Agency, Taft and Hagler, Tiebreakers, and Greenville Auto World.
Join us next week for another edition of The Brian Bailey Show, right here on